From India to Afghanistan and Pakistan, players from the region are all set to take part in the Paris 2024 Olympics that are just days away. Hello there, you are watching Inside South Asia with me, Dasuni Athada, coming to you this week from the Sri Lankan capital of Colombo. Let's begin. Nepal has a new Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, who took over from Pushpa Kamal Dahal. On top of the issues of governance that Oli faces is how Nepal will balance India-China relations, as well as internal governance issues. Here's the story.
सत्यनिष्ठापूर्वक प्रतिज्ञा गर्दै देश र जनताको नाममा शपथ लिन्छु पूर्ण वफादार रही.
A fourth term as Nepal PM for Khadga Prasad Sharma Oli, marking the beginning of a new chapter amid political upheavals in the Himalayan nation. Oli heads the 13th New Look government since abolition of the Nepal monarchy in 2008. Nepal's House of Representatives now looks like this. The new Nepal government has a majority of 193 seats in the 275-member House. CPN-UML headed by Oli and Nepal Congress headed by Sher Bahadur Deuba are the biggest parties in the new government, besides smaller parties. Under the broad deal between Oli and Deuba, the two parties will lead the government on a rotational basis until the next general elections due in 2027. This deal incidentally has not been made public. At a national level, Oli faces the daunting challenge of providing political stability in the Himalayan nation. Analysts say the new government has to re-establish Nepal's diplomatic credibility.
So we can at least hope for relative stability, political stability in the country after the formation of new government. Because, these two largest parties, two big parties in the federal parliament, they command majority in most of the provincial assemblies. So they have already agreed, like 3 of the provincial government will be taken by Nepali Congress and 3 others by CPN-UML. But in terms of local government, I think there won't be any change because the mayor, deputy mayors of the local government, they are very powerful and they cannot be changed and they are directly elected.
But more closely watched, particularly from the Indian and Chinese point of view, will be Oli's stand on both these countries. India-Nepal relations had hit an all-time low during Oli's first term in 2015. Oli blamed the 2015 Nepal blockade on Indian interference. His government had put out a map that claimed Indian territory in Uttarakhand to be part of Nepal. Oli opened doors to China, boosting trade and joint infrastructure projects with Beijing. Nepal joined China's BRI in 2017, though the actual implementation is yet to be cleared. A huge indicator of things to come will be whether or not Oli goes ahead with implementation of the BRI in Nepal.
Mr. Oli is Prime Minister, but then he won't be having free hand as such. And there is a Nepali Congress which will just ensure check and balance in terms of its decision. And also, I personally think that there has been certain realization among Nepali political leaders that we need to have a very smooth relation with India.
Will things change this time? There are definitely expectations that PM Oli will reverse alleged pro-China leanings. He's already said he's been looking to build ties with India and acknowledge the role India can play in Nepal's development. There's no doubting the fact that India-Nepal relations are at a distinct crossroads.
Now let's shift our attention to Bangladesh. Violent anti-quota protests have rocked the country as demonstrators clashed against quotas for highly coveted government jobs. But what really is the core issue here?
Protests on the streets of Dhaka that turned ugly. The first significant protest against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government since she won a fourth straight term in January. The violence over quotas that broke out on Monday night soon spread across the country. As of Thursday, at least 10 people were killed. Armed cadres and activists of Bangladesh's ruling Awami League, along with its associated student wings, took to the streets to counter protesters demanding the removal of the quota system in government jobs.
We were rallying when suddenly the ruling party student wing attacked in front of the Bijoy Ekator Hall first. Then we were coming towards the Vice Chancellor's house. When we were stopped there, the ruling party student supporters again attacked us from behind. They were hitting on the heads only in a targeted way.
When we were going from the Teacher Student Center of Dhaka University to Bijoy Ekator Hall, they attacked us with outsiders. They were equipped. Our female students were behind our rally. They did not even spare our sisters.
The trigger for these clashes lies in reinstatement of the quota regime that was removed in 2018. University students have been holding rallies over public sector job quotas, including a 30% quota for family members of freedom fighters of the 1971 War of Independence. Amid high unemployment rates, demands have peaked for a merit-based quota-free system. Anti-quota protesters blame the students' wing of the ruling party for the violence. Critics say the system benefits children of pro-government groups who back Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. It was Sheikh Hasina's government, incidentally, that had scrapped the quota system in 2018. In 2021, a group of petitioners went to the High Court to fight to get 30% quota back. After hearing the issue for 3 years, the High Court reinstated the 30% quota on July 1st. The Attorney General approached the Supreme Court right after the High Court's decision. A petition was filed on July 16th.
If we see the current situation of Bangladesh, I don't think the children of freedom fighters have the age to qualify for the job. They are too old for it. I don't think the grandchildren of freedom fighters should get a quota of jobs, as one generation has already had the chance to take the quota. If I take part in the freedom fight and something bad happens, that can affect my children's life, not my grandchildren's. So for that, freedom fighters can get benefits for the one time, and they got that. So we are saying that there shouldn't be any more benefits. However, we are not saying to abolish the quota system. We are talking about reforming the system.
Drawing attention of the students, we will say that their demand is rational. We were all in support of their cause, but some are using the students' emotions as a political weapon. Students should remain alert that no one can use their emotion as a political weapon. We also want to say to students that we were always with the students and we are with them.
Schools and universities across Bangladesh have been shut until further notice. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina refused to meet the students' demands, citing ongoing court proceedings.
আমি আরও ঘোষণা করছি হত্যাকাণ্ড সহ যে সকল অনভিপ্রেত ঘটনা ঘটেছে সুষ্ঠু ও ন্যায় বিচারের সাথে সে সকল বিষয় বিচার বিভাগীয় তদন্ত করা হবে।
The Supreme Court had suspended the High Court's order and said it will issue a decision in 4 weeks. The students have vowed to continue their protests until their demands are met. Bangladesh remains on the edge.
India is expected to unveil its fully fledged budget after an interim budget was presented in February. What are the expectations of each sector and what are the focus areas of the new coalition government? Take a look at this report for more.
With the Union Budget 2024 approaching on July 23rd, various sectors across India are buzzing with anticipation. This will be the first full budget presented by the re-elected Modi government following their Lok Sabha election victory. A common theme across sectors is the hope for renewed tax reforms and increased government spending on infrastructure. The real estate industry, for example, is looking for tax relief to stimulate the market, while the financial sector is eyeing tax breaks for consumers. Additionally, experts suggest raising the standard deduction under the personal income tax structure and simplifying the goods and services tax. The education sector seeks a budgetary boost for teacher training and also digital infrastructure projects. Meanwhile, the small and medium business sector anticipates an extension of the non-performing asset classification timeline in a bid to provide breathing room for managing cash flow. The expansion of the production-linked incentive scheme to include more industries is also high on the small and medium businesses' wish lists. The government has prioritized an investment-led growth strategy in recent years. This has resulted in a major increase in capital expenditure on infrastructure projects. In the 2023-2024 budget, the capital expenditure outlay was nearly 3 times the amount allocated in 2019 and 2020. This trend is expected to continue in the new budget, with a focus on sectors like energy, transportation, and logistics. This increased investment in infrastructure and logistics aligns with the government's long-term goal of transforming India into a $5 trillion economy. Initiatives like the National Logistics Policy and Bharatmala Pariyojana are expected to strengthen connectivity further and also fuel the growth of the logistics industry. The budget is also expected to address the government's ambitions within the semiconductor industry. Increased budgetary allocation for research and development in high-tech sectors like semiconductors is also anticipated. Industry leaders believe that partnerships with global leaders will be crucial for enhancing domestic manufacturing capabilities and positioning India as a leader in this space. With the pre-budget discussions in full swing, industry stakeholders across various sectors are hopeful that Budget 2024 will provide the required impetus for economic growth, job creation, and also long-term sustainable growth. Well, that is driving the current rally in Indian stocks to new record highs and multiple fresh milestones.
decades-long Pakistan-Afghanistan bonhomie is fraying as both countries are casting out people from the other side. More than 400,000 people have been cast out from both countries since the start of this year. For many, moving away from their ancestral homes is a fast unraveling nightmare.
Abdul Bashir runs a cloth store at Karachi's Afghan Basti market. It was passed down to him by his father and to his father by his grandfather. The family had moved to Karachi in Pakistan 35 years back from Afghanistan, yet they can't call it home. Bashir is still tagged a refugee and asked to pack up and leave the country.
We have our business here. People owe us around $17,850. Similarly, we owe around $35,000 to people. How can we leave this all? Our children study here. We have our business here. We studied here. How can we leave? We can't do business in Afghanistan. We have lived all our life here. We don't have a house there. We were born here. Our children were born here. Even our parents were born here. How can we go there? It's not possible to go there.
Bashir is among nearly 1.5 million Afghans in Pakistan who face persecution against deadlines to leave the country. The Pakistan government has now announced a one-year extension on expired residency cards after the UN Refugee Commissioner stepped in. But many know that the inevitable awaits, and the sooner they go, the better.
It will take at least 2 to 3 years. People have their houses here, they have shops, they have businesses. We can't suddenly stop our business. We can go after gradually winding up our business here. Like myself, I'm going back after winding up my business.
Pakistan has its reasons for the eviction order, rooted in security concerns and the state of its economy, besides a large dose of politics. But on the Afghanistan side, there's desperation as refugees trickle in. Already limited resources, jobs, housing, food are stretched, made worse by sanctions and slashing of foreign aid. Geopolitical watchers warn that echoes will be felt at the top, amid already worsening Afghanistan-Pakistan political relations. Fears are the search for a solution will create bigger problems ahead.
Videos of the Taliban cadre dancing to music has emerged. Music and dance were prohibited when the authoritarian government took power in Afghanistan. However, away from the prying eyes of the morality police, these cadres seem to be dancing away. From the Nepal bus landslide to a Chinese research vessel entering Maldivian waters, we now take a look at all the other stories that have made headlines in the region on our Inside South Asia wrap.
Rescuers in Nepal ruled out chances of finding survivors in last week's landslide that swept 2 passenger buses carrying 65 people into a river swollen by heavy rain. Some 500 rescuers from the police and army combed the raging Trishuli River and downstream areas, recovering at least 14 bodies. Out of the 8 bodies identified so far, 6 of them were of Indian nationals. At least 3 other passengers barely managed to escape by jumping off the buses before the landslide struck.
Following the latest tragic incident, the government has announced plans to ban buses from travelling at night in places with poor weather forecasting facilities. Sri Lanka's Supreme Court has issued a stern directive to former President Maithripala Sirisena and 2 other high-ranking officials to complete their compensation payments to the victims of the 2019 Sri Lanka Easter bombing by the 30th of August 2024. They were ordered to compensate the victims for their failure to prevent the devastating attacks. The 7-member Supreme Court panel has made it clear that failure to meet the deadline will result in contempt of court charges being filed against them by September 20, 2024. Pakistan's foreign ministry summoned the Taliban's deputy head of mission and urged the latter's administration to take action against Afghanistan-based militant groups that Islamabad says attacked a military base this week. Militants attacked the base in Bannu in northwestern Pakistan on Monday, ramming a vehicle loaded with explosives into the perimeter wall and killing 8 Pakistani security force members. The attack was claimed by Hafiz Gul Bahadur Group, which Pakistan's military said operates out of neighbouring Afghanistan.
Last week, we showed you how Rath Yatra is celebrated across India. This week, we show you Bahudur Rath Yatra, the return car from Puri. Take a look at these colourful visuals while I take your leave. For the WION team, I'm Dasuni Athava, and I will see you next week.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states